always say it's difficult to compress this relationship with one or two words. It has always been complex. There are many areas in which we have great cooperation, such as we've seen recently on the Iran nuclear agreement, where the United States worked with China to get that agreement along with Russia and the European nations. We also have seen important agreement recently on climate change, with China and the United States coming into alignment on the need to do something about it. And I also have to say that even though there are occasional disagreements with respect to trade, the trading relationship between our two countries has been significant and enormously beneficial to both countries over the last 40-odd years of my experience. Yet there are issues with China that cause difficulties, such as the concerns we have about cybersecurity. We need greater understanding and transparency of what's going on in the sea. Claims on islands and building up of coral reefs and building up of islands right out of the bottom of the ocean. And what are they being used for? And why such large landing strips? So these kinds of issues cause us difficulty. So as with any country of that size and that importance, there will always be some difficulties, but I think on balance, the relationship has been sound. It has been solid for many, many years. So I think it is a complex relationship, but one that has been managed rather well for the last 40-something years.
Do you think that, as President Xi does, that the U.S. and China can somehow create a new pattern of power politics that avoids the inevitable rivalry between a rising power and the already dominant one that we saw over and over again in history?
I think so, and I wouldn't even like to characterize it as power politics. What it is that we have two nations that have interest in the Pacific region, in the Western Pacific, and in Asia generally. And the United States, for many, many years, decades, had been the dominant military power in that region and the dominant political power. And now China has risen, and China is the second largest economy in the world. China has interest in that part of the world, and because of its economic strength, its new political ascendancy, it wishes to play a more dominant role. But we can't have dominance. Two people can't be dominant at the same time. So I think we'll have to find a way to work with each other. All of us have to come together and understand that the region is best served by peace and by stability and by open dialogue. And open dialogue means disagreement. You can't have a dialogue unless you're having some disagreement. And I just hope that the disagreements that will come along in any relationship can be handled in a way that reflects diplomacy. In my 4 years as Secretary of State and in my previous assignment as Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and National Security Advisor, had a number of problems with the Chinese, but we were always able to work our way through it. The most prominent of these is the famous incident that occurred in April of 2001, where our two planes collided. And a number of people here in the United States were saying, oh, we now have a crisis with China. And I said, no, we've had an accident. Let's not let this incident become a crisis. And within about 2 weeks, my Chinese colleagues and I, and the leadership in the White House and the leadership in Beijing were able to come up with a solution that calmed things down. And frankly, because we were able to solve it without any crisis, it created a new friendship between the United States and China as to how we should deal with things like this. And my foreign minister colleague at that time, Foreign Minister Tang, and I, we understood one another better. And the first time I saw him after that crisis, incident rather, I said to him, you know, in the future when something like this happens, we should talk to each other immediately so we don't let things get out of control. So here's my home phone number. You can call me anytime, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. If you want to go through the State Department, fine, but you don't have to. Just dial me direct, and I will be there for you.
Did then Foreign Minister Tang call you?
We've talked that way, yes. He used to call me on my cell phone. I always wanted to have that kind of relationship with Foreign Minister Tang, with Foreign Minister Li, with my other colleagues there, with your current Foreign Minister. I know them all rather well, and I feel that I have been able to demonstrate to them the goodwill of the American people, but also the concerns of the American people. That's what a mature relationship is.